Since its inception, the Yu-Gi-Oh card game has been filled with notoriously hard to come by cards, starting with secret rares, moving on to ultimate rares, ghost rares, and the most recently released Starlight rares. With every single generation, these rarities took a step up from its predecessor in the difficulty to acquire by pulling out of the box, with secret rares being 1 in 2 to 3 boxes, ultimate rares moving up to 2 per box, but having such a huge amount that if you want the card that you pulled, it's basically like 1 in 6 to 7 boxes. Ghost rares stepped it up even more with 1 per case, and then Starlight rares took it to a whole new world with 1 in every 2 cases. But none of those cards will ever come close to the rarity of the cards that I'm going to be discussing in this series, which are the World's Championship match winners. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the first match winners to ever be released in the TCG, the cards dubbed the WCS promos. These cards are by far the most difficult to acquire cards in the TCG, and there's nothing really that comes close. I'm super excited to bring this to you guys, so let's get into it. Alright, so to start things off, we have to discuss what is a match winner. A match winner is a specific type of Yu-Gi-Oh card that is only awarded at special events. The reason it's called the match winner is because of the effect in the text box. Usually it reads, if you reduce your opponent's life points to 0, then you win the match. Now I know I'm gonna get a bunch of dudes in the comments saying, hey, I thought if you reduce the life points to 0, you're supposed to win anyway. How is this a match winner? Well, in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, a match is basically consistent of a best of 3 series, so you have to win 2 out of 3 times in order to win the match. What this card is implying is pretty much if you put it on the field and you reduce the life points to 0 in the first game, you don't have to win the second game in order to win the match. But obviously that doesn't really make sense in a tournament scheme of things, so that's why you'll always see at the bottom left, this card cannot be used in a duel. So it's more like a flex text, it's not really an actual effect that you can use in the card game. But that's the background information. Let's get into the first time these cards debuted, which is in the World Championships 2003. So in 2003, the first World Championships for Yu-Gi-Oh was ever held. Now it is an understatement to say that this tournament was a mess. Although the winner names as well as the deck lists that they used are registered and archived, pretty much nothing about the prizes has been recorded. All we know is that 3 cards were awarded as super rares. The first one is Kanan the Sword Mistress, the second is Victory Dragon, and then the third is Blackluster Soldier. They were coded WCS-001, 002, and 003. However, there is no confirmation that these cards even exist. There are no pictures of them. Nobody's ever seen them before. They don't even exist on the Yu-Gi-Oh wall. So there was this wall that they used in the past where they would literally stick up every single Yu-Gi-Oh card that ever was released. They had like Tokyo Dome prize cards there, and yet for some reason those 3 cards were not present. So we're not sure if every winner got one of these 3 cards or if they got all 3 and then there's like 3 copies for each winner. Like, we really don't know. Again, we have never seen them. There's no recorded picture. Like, all that I know from 2003 World Championships is that there's this badass trophy that was on the table that I wish I could have. Man, if somebody ever watches this video, I will pay so much money for that Millennium Puzzle trophy. But anyway, back to the cards. We really have no idea where these cards are. There's not a single piece of information on their whereabouts or their existence. But that's 2003, and it's important to know that everything I just said is hyperbolic to only 2003. It does not affect the next World Championships, where the process was a lot more streamlined, everything was a lot more optimized, and that's where most people consider the World Championships to truly begin, which is WCS 2004. So in 2004, I think that this is where most people would say that the real World Championships began. The game became a lot more optimized. Everybody knew what they were doing a lot more. And I would even say that Upper Deck and Konami knew what they were doing a lot more. So in this tournament, the format for the prizes was a lot more clear. So firstly, let's start with how many prizes can be won. So in 2004, we had not only winners for TCG, but we also had the video game. Each of the people that placed in the top 4 of either of these categories wins the exact same prize. And the first prize that they won is a tablet of lost memories. It's this thing right here. If you placed 4th or 3rd, you would get this exact same tablet painted bronze. Second place would get it silver, and then first place would obviously get it in gold. So in total for 2004, there are 2 golds, 2 silvers, and then 4 bronze, because they're awarded on each side of the competition. Now for this trophy, I covered it in a lot more detail in my Millennium Puzzle trophy video, so you can check that out there. But a quick summary is basically it's a heavy stone resin tablet, sculpted extremely well, painted extremely well. It's encased inside of a wooden frame, and then at the bottom there is a gold plaque that says World Championships 2004 and then the winner's name on there. The frame is completely sealed, so you can't actually remove the tablet unless you're damaging the actual frame. So that's the trophy aspect. Now for cards, this is where it gets extremely juicy. So for 4th place to 2nd place, you'd be awarded the card called Mateo the Matchless. This card is coded WCS-EN 402. WCS is obviously World Championship Series, EN is English, and then 4 as in 2004, 02 as in second and under. Now obviously you can win it on both sides, so there's 6 copies in total of this card. The first place prize, however, they won the card called Ulevo. Simple name, but this card has the most lore pretty much out of any card in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So this card was awarded to 2 winners obviously, and there is not a single picture of this physical card other than this picture right here. This is literally the only one. I'm pretty sure it's a screenshot from an old YouTube video, but this is literally the only documentation we have of this card actually existing. Technically, you can see it in this picture right here if you really zoom in and you know who the winner is, but I would say the first one is really the only clear picture that this card actually exists. As you can see from this picture, the card is actually encased in a black acrylic. Now this goes for all 8 of the championship cards that were awarded on both sides from 1st place to 4th place. Now something that's important to know about this type of trophy card is that it's very different from the Des Volscaf Pharaoh Tour trophy. So the case is actually poured on top of the card, while something like the Mateo and the Ulevo are actually 2 acrylics that have come together with the card in the middle. So the card is actually loose inside. You can actually see it move very small amounts. So the card can technically be removed from this acrylic case, while something like the Des Volscaf cannot. This makes the WCS cards actually have a little bit more character to them because it's actually like a physical card and you have the chance to be able to hold it, while something like the Pharaoh Tour, it cannot be removed from this glass case. Another thing that's kind of unique about this case is that although there's screws on the back, these screws are actually not functional. The case is sealed shut via like super glue or something. Even if you remove the screws, as you can see in this video, you cannot remove the case. It cannot be opened. So the card is sealed inside. You do have to crack it open if you're trying to extract the card. But that's pretty much the cases. Let's focus on the cards. So like I said earlier, Ulevo has never had any pictures surface online. Mateo, there are a lot of pictures out there. There are actually a couple of owners in Europe. I know there's one in the United States. The 2 European ones that I know of, one is owned by 4Nation Gaming and the other one is owned by Old Italian Gems. The other 4, we really don't have a lot of information on their whereabouts. For Ulevo, we really don't know anything at all. There are some allegations that there is one of them in Dubai owned by a very big multi-millionaire, but there's really no way to confirm that. In terms of pricing, Mateo goes for around $50,000 to $60,000, and then when you get to Ulevo, you're talking like $500,000 plus. This is arguably the rarest card in the game and has never publicly exchanged hands. Now you might be asking yourself, how is one card that's limited to 2 be worth $500,000 and then a card that's limited to 6 is only $50,000? Well, if you want to think of it like that, how about a card that's limited to 1,000 and then another card that's limited to 3,000? There's a huge price gap there because there's 66% less of one card than there is of another one. If you want to grab a Ulevo, there's only 2 people that have them and we don't even know who they are. While for Mateo, there's 6 options that you can purchase from. 4 are not known, but 2 are very readily available. However, I do agree with you that the price disparity should not be so big. So either Ulevo is way overvalued or Mateo is way undervalued. I'd love to know your opinion on that. But that pretty much wraps up 2004. Now I want to get to the last year for WCS, which is 2005. Alright, so now we're gonna get to the last year where the World Championship cards were coded with WCS, because after this, the cards become coded WCPS. It's not that big of a difference. However, there are a couple of changes that do distinguish 2006 onwards from these first 2 years, so we'll be covering those in another video in the future. Make sure you're subscribed for that. So in 2005, we pretty much had a carbon copy of the first tournament where the top 8 would win one of these tablets. The only difference is that the nameplate says World Championships 2005, obviously, and I mean, that's pretty much it. However, the only other thing that they added for this tournament was a nice shikishi drawing by Kazuki Takahashi himself, signed to the winners. A shikishi is a board that is used in Japan for artists to draw their art on. A lot of Japanese people use them to get signatures and so on, so it was a really nice add-in, in my opinion, to the winners of that tournament. Now for the cards, we got the same format, which is basically the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place in each category winning the card called Queen of Fate Eternia. Now this card right here is one of the most expensive 2nd place prize cards that exists in the Yu-Gi-Oh world. Very rarely can 2nd place winners compete on the price tag of 1st place. However, Queen of Fate Eternia does it not only because it's an amazing artwork, but it has the waifu tax as well. This card almost doubles Mateo the Matchless at around $70,000 to $80,000. In terms of owners, I know one in the United States called Wildcard Cyclone. He has one of these cards, and then the second owner is in Europe. I don't quite know his name. However, neither of them are looking to sell. Now, just like 2004 though, the 2nd place and the 1st place are like worlds apart. The 1st place prize card is called King of Destruction ZXX. This card is like dumb expensive. It's like literally you level price tags. I would definitely say it's around the $300,000 to $400,000 mark. It might not be as expensive as U level because it's not the first one, but it is definitely up there. But unlike U level, there is actually a picture of this card when it was exchanging hands or something in 2005, 2006. This is the only physical picture that we have of this card. So for some people, it might take the lore down a little bit, but to me, I think that that's actually kind of cool to know that like, this card actually exists. In terms of owners, we really don't know who owns this card. However, there are rumors that the owner of U-Level in Dubai also owns this as well. But again, it's all allegations. We really can't confirm anything. But that's pretty much it for WCS. I do have to mention 2 things that I believe are really important to know. These WCS cards upon release were not that expensive. What actually happened was a lot of these Japanese shops would hang them up on their windows to attract customers. And what that resulted in was that the sun actually bleached multiple copies of these World's Prize cards. Now ZXX and U-Level, we don't really know about those. We've never seen them, so we don't know what their condition is like. But for Mateo as well as Queen, there are copies that are very sun faded. I personally would recommend, if you have the money, to stay away from these types of copies. I would say if you're spending $70,000 to $80,000 a card, you might as well get a perfect specimen, right? But that's just me. Who am I to tell you how you should spend your $70,000? The second thing that I want to talk about is the fact that U-Level actually has one reprint, and that is a giant card that is located at Frank & Sons. I think this is important to know because if you ever want to see a picture of this card, it is actually available. It's literally like maybe 2 or 3 times as big as this giant card right here. So I mean, it's quite massive. It takes up like a whole room. It's pretty much about 6 or 7 feet. Like, I mean, it's ridiculously big. I don't know how they acquired it. Again, if anybody from Frank & Sons is trying to sell it, I would definitely be a buyer. But I figured I would toss this information in since we're talking about U-Level in this video. So that's pretty much it for the World Championship match winners for 2003, 4, and 5. Now, I did want to cover one more set of cards that were released in those years, and that's the qualifier cards. So for 2003, the qualifier card was Kanan the Sword Mistress. That is the first release of this card. It is an Asian English card, so it has an Asian English back. So for Victory Dragon, that is like the match winner, and Blackluster Soldier, those do not exist as far as we know. However, Kanan the Sword Mistress, because it's a qualifier card and a lot more people have it, we have seen those. For 2004, there's the card called Sengenjin. This one is coded WCS-AE403. This is the qualifier copy for this tournament. However, it is not to be confused with the WCS-EN 403 Sengenjin, which was actually handed out to all attendees. There are way more copies of the EN version. That one goes for around like 100 to 200 bucks, while the AE version goes in the thousands. However, it is still nowhere near something like Mateo or Ulevo, right? Like we're talking 1 to 2,000 here, while Mateo is in the $50,000 plus. And then lastly, for 2005, there is the qualifier card called Firewing Pegasus. This is a reprint of the Tokyo Dome prize card. Firewing Pegasus specifically is what's considered a protected rarity card. It is from an original Tokyo Dome release. This artwork is protected by Konami, and they try to not dilute the artwork too much by releasing it in too many reprints. Firewing Pegasus is coded WCS-AE503, and every single one of these is a super rare. So Kanan, Sengenjin, as well as Firewing are all super rares, and they all have the Asian English backs. Firewing Pegasus goes for a lot of money, just like Sengenjin, just like Kanan the Sword Mistress. They all hover in that $1,000 to $2,000 range. Another thing that separates these qualifier cards from the match winners is that they don't come in black acrylic cases like the match winners. They actually come sealed in a clear plastic wrapper. But that's pretty much everything you need to know about the World Championships from 2003 to 2005. Every card that is coded WCS is included in this video, and in the next part we're going to be talking about WCPS. WCPS kept a lot of things that were good about the WCS promos. However, they did a lot of things that in my opinion were very detrimental to the whole prize card scene. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so that you're notified whenever I release the next part of this series. Comment down below your thoughts on these cards. Are you a nostalgia collector or are you a rare hunter? I know the price tag is out of reach for most regular human beings, but if you were to choose one of these prize cards, which one would you want in your collection? Is it Mateo, Ulevo, Zexex, or is it Queen of Fate? Let me know which one's your favorite, and also let me know if you feel like I missed something about these tournaments. If you want to support the channel further, I have a Patreon, and you can also use the links in the description to shop. You can pick yourself up your own Gardner binder that I make myself. They're extremely high quality, and they're made for collectors by a collector. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.